Peace, peace, Juma Mubarak. How everybody doing? So, I know there's been a lot of political videos going on. I want to shed some light um, on the aftermath of the war of Andrew Jackson and Osceola and the Seminole Indians. That war started from Osceola's wife being violated, a black woman. Now, Seminoles aren't truly a tribe. It's like many tribes are just named by Caucasoids. Um, So within that, not only were black people together with natives, or they were just indigenous already because black people were here already. Proof is with Lucia in Brazil. Ironic that Brazil has the most melanated people outside of the continental Africa. That should tell you if you think it's all came from boats. It's ironic that they found the oldest human remains, which was in Brazil, that got reconstructed and look like she can make some good potato salad, some cornbread. You know what I mean? They call her Lucia. It's the opposite form of Lucy, Caucasoid name given to the remains found in Ethiopia. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you about us black people in Mexico.
We are taking you to the Mexican village, which has celebrated Juneteenth for more than 150 years.
It's a community.
150 years of people been celebrating Juneteenth. Now, before it got commercialized, crackerized, and monetized, most people in America that celebrated Juneteenth were like the Baptists and Muslims. I know because I used to be the giving out flyers. Weekway Park, Newark, New Jersey.
With strong tradition and a heritage that consists of Mexican, African, and Seminole culture. KPRC
Seminole is a Spanish deviant of Cimarron or runaways. They weren't African. Ethnogenesis was in America, and I doubt they had any African customs from Florida down to Mexico. But they want to throw that in there because we are African through lineage before the Americas. But I basically say that to say this. We have people in Mexico. And let's see how they look.
Two's Keith Garvin shows us how it is a culture they are working hard to preserve.
Our roots are here. For us, everything began here.
It is a place most people have likely never heard of, much less visited, and one that many have left behind over the years. In the north-central section of the Mexican state of Coahuila, it sits just 115 miles.
That name, I know that name. It's a street in Tijuana. Name that.
From the Texas border, 450 miles from Houston, and 500 miles from Galveston. A village hours away, yet closely connected to the tradition of Juneteenth.
It's interesting. The farther we drive into Mexico through towns like Sabinas and Musquis, the closer we actually get to Black history, which is
also fun fact. I wanted to figure out if I was really Native American because you know how we always have those things around the campfire. So I didn't find it on my mother's side. I found it on my father's side, which was very surprising. And my father always said that, you know, we had some Cherokee, you know, his father's lineage is down from North Carolina. I find it ironic. My first DNA test is said North America and a little bit Caribbean of the natives, the indigenous. And then now it's just saying straight Yucatan Peninsula. They trying to get me out of America or what? That's crazy. Maybe I should make a video of that. But yeah, man, we got peoples down there. Maybe we've been here the whole time.
also Mexican history.
That history took KPRC2 to Nacimiento de los Negros, in Spanish, birth of the blacks.
They got here July 12, 1850 to Coahuila.
Karina Torralba, who now lives in Santa.
Wow, July 12, 1850. They know the exact date. It's funny they say the birth of the blacks there, but it was a black man that made the first Catholic church in Mexico. Message! Shout out to the Moors.
Antonio was born and raised in Nacimiento. Toralba
When they say stuff like that, that's just another white supremacist joke, trick. You know what I'm saying? Yes, these are white supremacist countries. White supremacy is global, and especially in the New World, these countries based off such. Have you ever heard of Malinche? That'd be another video.
grew up celebrating Juneteenth with the entire village. She has traveled back to Nacimiento to mark the holiday almost every year of her life. Like most people here today, she is an ethnic mix of Mexican, African, and Seminole, descendants of the Negros Muskogos, the phrase for Black Seminoles.
Y'all see her walking down the street, and y'all be like, "Yeah, they about to get you next." That's a black woman right there. That is a black woman. Have you seen our grandmas that's so light skinned? But you hear them talk, or you see them features. Black is not just a color. Let's get that clear. It's a lineage of the Americas.
And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have what we have here today. You know, this land, you know.
Look straight. Well, you know, she got a little curly hair. The hair look a little thick now. Hair look a little nappy, sister. I see you with your hoop earrings.
This freedom.
So how did they wind up here in Mexico, and whatever caused them to start celebrating Juneteenth?
The history.
Look at them right there. The little light skin one right there. That's definitely a little fro. All right, look at them. That's our people right there. Wow. I didn't know they celebrated in Mexico. Shout out to Bobby Yeye Jones and Tariq Nasheed.
The history of Muskogos is so important here in Mexico because they grew up helping the government when the other groups were harming the land.
They started as escaped slaves from South Carolina and Georgia, taken in by the Seminole tribe in Florida in the 1820s. In the following decade, they were forced to Oklahoma, along with several.
There was no tribe called Seminole. It was a confederacy labeled by the Honkies.
Other tribes during what was known as the Trail of Tears.
My people from North Carolina and Georgia.
Although many had intermarried.
Also, they have Mayan Georgia ruins out there. Have y'all seen that? If you're really watching me, man.
Married with the Florida Seminoles, because of their noticeably darker skin, they were under constant threat of kidnapping by slave traders. They eventually fled to Texas, then Mexico, where slavery had been abolished in 1829. The government granted them citizenship based on several stipulations. If the Black Seminoles would defend the country's northern border and take Mexican names, they would receive money, life.
Wow. So if you put your blackies on your border and they assimilate to your culture, okay. I mean, that's how countries work, though, right? A lot of Mexicans come up here, join the army, get citizenship for their families. They definitely don't change their culture and their names. But yeah.
Livestock and tools, plus 70,000 acres of land.
And they gave them 75 acres of land, and that's way better than America. I would have been living down there too. Ciao! You heard? Well, I can't wait to tell my daughter this. You know how racist mother lying.
They defended for several years, and they received the land that became Nacimiento.
Now, Negros Muskogos. That sounds a lot like Muskegee or Muskogee, but you know, I digress. That's Spanish.
The work that they did, you know, to free themselves, to liberate themselves, to make, you know, look for a safe place for their people as a tribe.
Slaves were set free in Galveston in 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. When the news reached Nacimiento a few years later, the people here began celebrating El Día de los Negros, the Day of the Blacks. It was a day to revel in solidarity, but also in relief. The end of slavery in neighboring Texas meant the Muskogos were no longer under threat of being captured and returned to bondage. About 300 people call Nacimiento home today, with others working to make sure the history.
The Muskogo also sound like mosque. You know, some of them Seminoles, they had African jewelry. Well, I should say Moorish. I think that's what they should say Moors, you know. But That'll be another blast to the community with the white power structure system in Latin America.
And connection don't fade. Karina, why is this place so important to you?
I could remember being little and, going to the river and just, it was a different feeling than living in the United States. It's one of my favorite places to be.
On this day, artist Cedric Huckabee of Fort Worth is unveiling an exhibition at the Cultural Center featuring pastel drawings of 100 Nacimiento residents.
The people were warriors. I mean, literally, the Mexican government hired them to protect the borders. They're naturally fighters.
The project is being funded by the prestigious U.S. Fulbright program. Over 4 months, Huckabee sat down with each person for several hours, drawing them as they told their story. 75-year-old Juan Torralba, a lifelong resident, was one of his subjects.
That's what they call Paisa, right? Niggas.
What do you think when you see that picture?
Oh, I'm proud about this picture.
Huckabee says while this mix of Mexican, African,
That look about right. It only take 2 generations for you to get white.
and Seminole culture is distinct, there are strong connections to the community of Black Americans. Connections that need to be taught and celebrated.
I would like for this project to help tell the story, to be an advocate for this community and their story and our story.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
Imagine, we ain't have commercials like that and representation before George Floyd in a long time. But it's good to see your brother do commercials like that. The world has changed. Back to this video. Could you imagine? Look at this. Mexican really being mixed. Look at her right there. The tall, fine one.
What an amazing story, an incredible assignment to be able to go there and to connect the dots, right, between Black.
Yeah, man. That was an amazing piece, man. Like I said, shout out to Tariq Nasheed, brother Yaya Jones for playing on his stream. Like that. I had to do it, my brother. It's just amazing. Yeah, we gotta link up with them down there. Nacimiento, Mascogo. Que tú sabes. All right. Salam, gotta get ready.